What if the greatest time travel journey of all time wasn't to the past, but to the future? Close your eyes and imagine for a moment the saga of Gunnar, a fearless Viking warrior, whose world was made of rough seas, lands to be conquered, and glory forged in the heat of battle. For Gunnar, life was a tapestry embroidered with the exploration of new horizons and the conquest of riches for his clan. But what if, in a cosmic twist or through a deep sleep induced by ancient magic, Gunnar awoke not on the icy coasts of Scandinavia, but in the pulsating heart of a metropolis in the year 2120, a world where his bravery with an axe would be as useful as an oar in a flying car, and where his thirst for conquest would be met with an almost incomprehensible technological pacifism. Get ready to witness the hilarious and, at times, bittersweet collision between an indomitable Viking spirit and the wonders and peculiarities of a distant future. Welcome to Anachronia, where culture shock reaches epic proportions. Gunnar, a man forged in the rigors of the north, son of a great jarl, whose reputation echoed through the fjords, was a master in the art of navigation, guiding his longship through the treacherous waves of the North Atlantic with the precision of a hunter tracking in the snow. His existence was a relentless pursuit of honor, power, and new lands to expand the domain of his people. Each dawn brought the promise of new adventures and the possibility of inscribing his name in the sagas. But destiny, as whimsical as the Norse gods, had other plans. Suddenly, his familiar world of wood, wind, and stars was abruptly replaced by a claustrophobic and translucent environment, a glass capsule immersed in a constant, bluish glow. Upon awakening, his robust body, accustomed to being whipped by the icy wind and invigorated by the salt of the sea, felt the artificially pure and coldly sterilized air of a laboratory that seemed to have come out of a tale of forbidden magic. Confused and disoriented, Gunnar ran his hands through his thick braided beard, feeling the familiar touch of the runes engraved in its strands, and instinctively reached for the trusted handle of his battle axe, his inseparable source of comfort and power. His warrior's brain, trained to analyze the battlefield and make lightning-fast decisions amidst the din of combat, was now overwhelmed by a whirlwind of inexplicable visual and auditory stimuli. Lights blinking for no apparent purpose, electronic murmurs filling the air, and smooth, reflective surfaces that distorted his image. He desperately tried to make sense of this new sensory realm, where concepts like pixel and delivery drone were as alien as the constellations of an unknown sky. Driven by a primordial instinct for survival and the innate thirst for exploration that ran in his Viking veins, Gunnar emerged from that strange chamber with the caution of a wolf in unknown territory, but with his faithful axe firmly in hand, ready to face any threat that presented itself. Upon passing through the sliding door of the laboratory, he was faced with a vision that defied all his notions of reality. A sprawling metropolis that stretched as far as the eye can see, with towering buildings that seemed to tear through the clouds and luminous vehicles that crossed the skies in silent and mysterious trajectories. His eyes, once skilled at deciphering the nuances of the wild and reading the subtle omens of an impending storm, now struggled to interpret the frantic ballet of lights and symbols that floated in the air, holographic traffic signs that danced in incomprehensible patterns, and luminescent advertisements that flickered empty promises. He observed people rushing by, absorbed in small glowing objects they held in their hands, moving their fingers across their surfaces with undecipherable expressions. He tried to approach them with the rough but direct greetings of his people, seeking to establish a hierarchy through his imposing posture and the menacing presence of his axe, but was met only with blank stares, expressions of strangeness, and a constant murmur in languages that were completely foreign to him. He searched for lands to be conquered, for fortresses to be plundered, but all he found were immense skyscrapers of glass and polished steel, impenetrable walls that mocked his brute force. Gunnar felt, for the first time in his life, the uselessness of his rage and physical power. His strength, which was once his greatest asset, the tool with which he shaped his destiny, now seemed to be a ridiculous anachronism, a relic of a forgotten past. His initial quest for new lands to subdue and riches to plunder proved to be a fruitless adventure, a brutal clash against the wall of technology and the apparent pacifism of that futuristic society. However, the flame of exploration, the intrinsic desire to explore the unknown that burned in his Viking chest, remained lit. Gunnar tried to orient himself in that urban labyrinth as he did in the icy seas of his homeland, looking for patterns, for reference points that could guide him. But instead of shimmering stars and a wooden compass, he found a vast and intricate digital network, an invisible web of information that connected every aspect of that civilization. A virtual compass on the small devices that people so revered promised to take him anywhere, but the destinations it presented were abstract, made of data and codes that escaped his understanding. He tried to fight, as a true Viking warrior would when faced with an obstacle, but his enemies were no longer men of flesh and blood. He found imposing cyborgs, with bodies enhanced by technology, who seemed to feel no pain and who wielded energy weapons that disintegrated matter, making his wooden shield and steel axe obsolete and ineffective. His life, which was once a constant battle for survival against the elements and rival clans, turned into an exhausting struggle to decipher the social codes, the invisible norms, and the intricate workings of the world around him. Each interaction was an enigma, each new technological device, a mystery to be unraveled that in his confused and lonely journey through that strange urban landscape. Gunnar found a peculiar figure who seemed to stand out from the technological homogeneity of that time. An astute and enigmatic hacktivist who went by the name of Lara. She, with her colored hair and a look that seemed to peer into the code lines of reality, saw the world not as a place of peace and order, but as a complex system to be explored, manipulated, and if necessary, subverted. In Gunnar, with his aura of a time-displaced warrior and his brutal honesty, Lara saw not a barbarian to be feared or ridiculed, but a potential ally, an explorer of a new era who possessed a unique perspective on the fundamental values of freedom and justice. She took it upon herself to guide Gunnar through the labyrinths of that new reality, showing him how to navigate the vast and treacherous network of information, how to conquer the knowledge that was the true power of that time, and how to fight against the omnipotent corporations that seemed to control every aspect of life in 2120. She explained to him that true conquest no longer resided in the accumulation of gold and silver, but in the relentless pursuit of knowledge and the uncompromising defense of individual and collective freedom. Under Lara's tutelage, Gunnar, the once feared Viking, began to realize that his journey had not ended with his awakening in that disconcerting future, but that it had only taken a new and unexpected turn. He understood that, although he was no longer a king in the traditional sense of the word in that high-tech society, he could become an explorer of a completely new type of world. The digital realm, as vast and unexplored as the oceans he had once navigated. He realized that his ancient skills of leadership and his unwavering courage could be applied in innovative ways in that new context. He no longer needed a longship to conquer new horizons, but a virtual interface to navigate the currents of information. He did not need a battle axe to fight his enemies, but rather astuteness and an ever-increasing knowledge of how to handle the tools of that new era, like a key on a keyboard that could unlock secrets and topple empires. Gunnar began to understand that the true essence of conquest was not in physical domination, but in the ability to learn, to adapt, and to find his purpose in a world in constant evolution. If you want to follow Gunnar's epic journey and discover what the future holds for him, be sure to subscribe to Anachronia. Don't miss the next episode and all the other stories from our cinematic universe, where legends from the past are thrown into the future. Leave a comment below telling us what you think of Gunnar's journey, and which hero you would like to see in our next video. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new adventures.